Hello and welcome. This is going to be a 200 word per minute Q&A. And remember, when the hand is up, it is a question. When it is down, it is an answer. Okay, and we'll begin. Did you go to church in the month of July? No, sir. Do you have a gym membership? No, sir. Did you go to any other department stores in the month of July? No, sir. Did you go to Walmart in the month of July? No, sir. I order from Walmart.com. Did you visit any family in the month of July? No, sir. Did you visit any friends in the month of July? No, sir. Did any of the members of your family living with you test positive for COVID in July? No, sir. While you were staying at the Comfort Inn, did you know every person there? No, sir. Did you know every person's COVID status at the Comfort Inn while you were staying there? No, sir. While you were at work, were you provided any PPE? We were provided face masks, gloves. Were you also provided face shields or just masks? Are you asking at a certain time or any time at all? At all in the month of July, were you provided a face shield? In July, no, just a face mask. Were there any other types of PPE that were provided to you? No, sir, not in July. Did you have a certain unit that you were assigned to at ASE? No, sir. Did you all have a COVID unit at ASE? Yes, sir. Did you work in the COVID unit? Yes, sir. In the month of July, did you work in the COVID unit? We didn't have a COVID unit in the month of July. Do you know if any patients in the month of July tested positive for COVID? Yes. How many patients in the month of July? 1. In the month of July, did you have any contact with the patient? Yes. How did you care for the patient with COVID? Administered medication to her. Do you know the patient's name? Yes, sir. What's the patient's name? I'm allowed to say it? Yes, you can say it, ma'am. It's okay. Okay, Jane Trudeau. And when you were administering, and approximately what day in July did you administer medication to Jane Trudeau? There were several days, sir. How do you know she tested positive for COVID? Her family told me. Did you use any additional PPE when administering the medication to Jane Trudeau? Just my face mask. Were you told by anybody else at ASE that the patient had COVID? No, sir. Did any other employees in the month of July test positive for COVID? Yes, sir. How many employees tested positive for COVID in July? I only know of one. What was the name of that employee? Darlene Shore. Approximately when did she test positive for COVID in July? I'm not sure. How do you know she tested positive for COVID? When I returned back from vacation, she wasn't there, and I asked where. Where was she at? And I was told that she was on quarantine because she tested positive. Before you went on vacation, did you have any contact with Darlene Shore? Yes, sir. What kind of contact did you have with Darlene Shore? We had to report to each other. I was her relief, so she had to give me reports, and we had to count the narcotics together. Did you wear gloves while giving report to each other? No, sir. After testing positive for COVID on August 3rd of 2020. Oh, sorry, scratch that. What caused you to get a COVID test before August 3, 2020? It was mandatory. Were you having any symptoms at the time? I was having symptoms, yes, sir. What symptoms were you having? Fatigue, cold symptoms, runny nose, coughing, a tickling sensation in my nose. And after you tested positive for COVID on August 3rd, 2020, did you have any additional symptoms? The loss of taste, shortness of breath, low-grade temp. Between when your symptoms started and when you tested positive for COVID, did you seek medical attention? No, sir. After testing positive, did you seek medical attention? No, sir. Since you tested positive for COVID, have you sought any medical treatment? No, sir. Did you end up testing negative for COVID? Yes, sir. What date did you test negative for COVID? August 17th. Did you have to pay for either COVID test? No, sir. Since you tested positive for COVID on August 3rd, 2020, have you returned back to work at ASE? Yes, sir. When did you return back to work at ASE? I returned back on August 14th. You returned back before you tested negative for COVID? Yes, sir. When did you take your test that came up negative for COVID? That Monday, August 17th. How did you return back to work on August 14, 2020, before you tested negative for COVID? My administrator called me and said that I could return back on Friday the 14th. When you returned back to work, were you still having any symptoms? Yes, sir. What symptoms were you still having when you returned back to work? Shortness of breath and loss of taste. When you returned back to work, what job were you performing? LPN. Were you still earning the same rate of pay? Yes, sir. Were you still working the same number of hours? No, sir. How many hours were you working when you returned back to work? Probably like 24 a week. How many hours are you currently working per week? None. Did you resign or were you terminated? I resigned. When did you resign? August 25th. Why did you resign on August 25th? Fearful of getting COVID again. After you tested positive for COVID, did anyone in your house test positive for COVID? No. Have you applied for any new jobs since you resigned from ASE? No. All right, that's the end of this take. Remember to review your notes.